In this lesson, we will talk about linear equations with two variables. Before we dive into the topic, let's recall the linear equations with one variable lesson. When the shopkeeper offered you 5 hats for 200 rupees, you represented that as 5 times x is equal to 200. Because you know there are 5 hats and you know the total cost, which is 200, but you didn't know the price of the hat. So that was an unknown. So in linear equations, we represent unknowns with small letters like x, y, z, and these are called variables. And here we have a linear equation with single variable, which is x. So now let's look at another example. Your father gave you 50 rupees and I asked you to bring some fruits. So you go to a fruit market and you come back with 3 oranges and 2 apples. Your father asks you what's the price of an apple and an orange. You only remember that the price of the orange was 10 rupees, but you forgot the price of an apple and you start panicking. You don't need to panic. You can apply linear equations and solve for the price of the apple. Let's see how we do that. Before we solve for the price of the apple, let's take a step back and understand linear equations with two variables. So here, let the price of the orange be x and price of the apple be y. Similar to the hats problem where the 5 hats costed you 200 rupees, you represented that as 5x equal to 200. Similarly over here, you have 3 oranges and 2 apples. And x being the price of the orange, so you represent it with 3x, and y being the price of the apple, you represent it with 2y. So the total cost is 3x plus 2y, which is equal to the money that you spent, which is 50 rupees. The same thing can be expressed as 3x plus 2y minus 50 equal to 0. You bring the right hand side to the left hand side, so 50 becomes minus 50. So this is in the form of ax plus by plus c equal to 0, where a is 3, b is 2, and c is minus 50. So this is called the general form of a linear equation with two variables. So now let's come back to your problem where you know the price of the orange but you don't know the price of the apple. So going back to your equation, 3x plus 2y minus 50 equal to 0, this can be expressed as y equal to 50 minus 3x by 2, leaving y on the left hand side and bring everything to the right hand side, and you will have this equation. So let x be the price of your orange and y be the price of your apple. So assume that the price of the orange was 6 rupees. If you substitute 6 in the equation y equal to 50 minus 3x by 2, you will end up with 50 minus 3 times 6 by 2, which is equal to 50 minus 18, which is nothing but 32 by 2, which is equal to 16. Similarly, if the price of the orange was 8, then you'll end up with the price of the apple being 13. In your case, you know that the price of the orange was 10 rupees. Now you can easily calculate the price of the apple by substituting 10 in this equation, and you will have 50 minus 3 times 10, which is equal to 50 minus 30, which is 20. 20 divided by 2 is 10 rupees. So the price of the apple was also 10 rupees. So now you can tell your father that the price of the orange and the apple was the same and it is equal to 10 rupees. So if you observe, the solutions for a linear equations with two variables are many. Whereas in the case of a linear equation with single variable, if you remember, the solution was x equal to minus b by a. So if 5 hats cost 200 rupees, 5x is equal to 200 and x is equal to 40. So there is always only one solution in that case. Whereas here, if you observe, x can take any value and y will have a corresponding value for that x. So if you observe here, when x was 6, your y was 16. And when your x was 8, your y was 13. When x was 10, y was 10. So you represent the solution of a linear equation with two variables in the form of an ordered pair x comma y. So 6 comma 16, 8 comma 13 and 10 comma 10 are all solutions for this linear equation. And there are infinite number of solutions. So that's the important takeaway from this lesson, which is a solution for a linear equation with single variable is always 1, whereas the solutions for a linear equation with two variables are infinite.